Wow, good evening. 18 in the chat already. Good evening, everybody. And I think before I get started, happy 4 or 6 month substreak, Jojo. And thank you for the gifts there, Em. And thank you, Em and Thomas, for the hosts. I know, right, Thomas? Thank you for the diamond, Eric. Yes, it is. It's a lovely blue. So, who do we have in chat? Let me see. Good evening, New, aka Ethel. Good evening, Jojo. Oh, it's 4 months. Good evening, Glenn. Good evening, Eric. Then we scroll down a bit more. Good evening, Davo. Good evening, M. Good evening, Thomas. Good evening, Brian. Who else? Anybody else? Anybody else? Hi, Joker. Hi. Thank you for the host. And thank you for the follow. Hi, most innocent. Wow, Sony, thank you for the host. And thank you for another gift of the subscription. Wow. I've not had this for a very long time. I'm shocked. And thank you again, Em, for the gifted subscription. Well, what can I say? I'm speechless and I haven't even started yet. How can I follow that? So all that I can guess is that there's many of you that are interested in OBS. Yes, you are, Joker. Wow. Absolutely speechless. Lots of them. Lots of spooks. Well, welcome everybody. And for those of you that may be watching on the host, my name's Paranormal White Noise, aka Zara, and some people know me as aka Madam in Charge. But that's normally when I'm on somebody else's panel. Thank you for subscribing monthly, Stony. I normally, generally, do paranormal stuff on here, but I'm actually taking a break from it at the moment. So I'm doing a bit more gaming, a bit more chatting, catching up with people, and how-tos, something like what you're going to be seeing this evening. And let me see, what is my streams most well known for? One of my most well known streams is War of the Worlds, where I had an animation created especially for that stream. Oh, I bet no. So I like to do a variety of things on the panel, and one of the most important passions in my life is mental health. I was going to do one back in October, but unfortunately I fell down ill. So I wasn't able to actually do that on World Mental Health Day this year. If you are hearing like noises, scratching, that's only my rabbit because he's out and about. So wow. I'm a bit shocked that so many's turned up so quickly. I'm really surprised. Taking my breath away a little bit, so do excuse me. While I recompose myself, and oh yes, I had to make sure I had my mic off of mute. Then otherwise, I would have had to uh, say that all over again. So, as I've said, and as you see by the title, this evening's stream is all to do about OBS. This is going from low-end PCs, if you're having lagging problems, what you can do to make your streams run smoother. Thank you, Eric. Yes, definitely, Ethel. Um, Tips, tricks. I've tried first started using OBS about 2 years ago, and I couldn't really use it, and it was driving me up the wall. I kept trying it for about 6 months, and then I gave up for about a year. And then I thought, right, no, I need to do this because it's something that I want to use, which I'm glad I did go back to. And I've persevered and I persevered and watched lots and lots of YouTube videos, picked up lots of tips. Some tips people may know, some tips people may not know. So I thought, well, I know that there's some people out there that have had problems with their OBS, currently having problems with their OBS. Yeah, it's a long time now. So I thought, right, well, I'll do a stream. I'm actually I will be screen sharing from my old laptop, so you'll actually see a completely blank OBS, more or less. Um, so I'll be able to start from scratch. I know people have had problems with Zoom, how some people use a display capture where you can use the window capture. That is working again, but you just have to change an option. So I'll be going all through that with you guys. If you do have any problems or something that you want a little bit more information on OBS, I'll be able to show you live. Um, so any questions, go ahead. Um, Glenn is we'll be looking out for the questions. So if I do happen to miss one, he can just let me know on that. So I don't really want to miss any of your questions because something like this is an important stream, or somebody you might not quite understand something, so I can repeat something if need be. I do have a couple of screenshots to show when it comes to certain problems that you can have and how you can rectify them. So I've tried to cover as much as I possibly can. This is why I've started about an hour earlier than when I normally do stream, to allow for that. um, so yeah. So no music, I'm afraid. Oh, better turn my mic down a little bit. I am still a little bit coffee because I've been streaming a lot and talking a lot the last few days. So my voice has gone ever so slightly. Um, but hopefully it doesn't completely go. It's okay now. And this video, well, this stream, should I say, um, I will be uploading to YouTube. Um, so being an affiliate, it'll only be here for 3 days, but I am gonna put it up onto YouTube and also put it up onto BitChute, and a couple of the other upload platforms that I belong to. So yeah, if you're on any of them, I'm either Paranormal White or Paranormal White Noise or Paranormal WN across social media. So, and I'm relatively easy to find. So with that being said, I'm going to change over screen. And switch over to my old laptop. So the OBS that I will be showing you is actually running on a 12-year-old laptop. This is my trusty Toshiba. When OBS is open, it does look ever so slightly blurry because obviously the graphics aren't as high as what I now run on. So the first tip I am going to give everybody is to run your OBS in admin mode. Oh, that's just a bit of background on my laptop, Jojo. It is. It is. Yep. So yeah, admin mode, you're actually going to find that your OBS is going to run that much faster. Whatever CPU that you happen to have, whether it is a high-end PC or a high-end laptop, to something running like what I'm running here today. Hi, Mags. So what that is actually going to do is it's going to tell your CPU that to take the majority of the power and the majority of your memory to actually use that for OBS. Now, I will be also showing what the difference is between running the OBS on your internal graphics. So that will be just your CPU, and then also on what it would you would need to choose if you have a separate graphics card, because not every single laptop, and primarily on laptops here, not every single laptop has a separate graphics card. A lot more do nowadays, but some are still built in. And this is actually quite important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over, and I'm actually going to run my OBS in admin mode. If you don't understand any of the writing, it is because it's in German. And I will also show you how I'm doing the screen share, other options you have if you don't have a webcam or you have a very bad webcam, how you can use your phone. And something that's very similar to Zoom, that you can have 4 participants. I'll just show you how it looks, because it's something still quite new to me. And you can add that straight into your OBS as well. So I'm going to open, excuse me, my OBS. So I am using 2 systems here. Yeah, I will be going through that, Eric. That is one of the things that I will be doing. And I did show you how to do that, hun, if you remember. But I will go through it again today. Right, so as you can see, just with my OBS open, completely blank, nothing on it, this is an internal graphics card that I run on the old Toshiba. So it uses the whole CPU to do everything. So that'll be if you're running a game, OBS, browsers. So it's very so you've just got the one chip that is actually being used. So as you can see at the bottom, that corner there, you'll see at the bottom, I'll highlight it with my other mouse just here. The CPU, even though with nothing on it, it's running at about 7%. Now, to give you a comparison, my OBS at this precise moment in time that I'm running on my Nitro is at running between 2 and 3.7%, because it's using my OBS is actually using my graphics card. A CPU is a computer processing unit, Eric. That's your chip. So where it says Intel, and it will say Core i5, i7, and it'll tell you what generation it is, that is your CPU. That is the CPU does all the main work for your computer or your laptop. Right. So one of the first tips that I can give you, different streaming platforms use different types of quality. So say, for example, I'm going to be using DLive as an example this evening because this is what I'm streaming on. To get the best configuration is that you would go to your settings. Obviously, you would have gone into DLive and you would have made a note of your stream key, to copy it down on a notepad somewhere. So what you would do is you would go into settings, and I never really do much with the general. I just leave it set up as it is. The nice thing about OBS, a lot of the settings you can just leave as it is. The most important ones is the stream, the output, the audio, the video. And sometimes, depending on how advanced you are on OBS, is the advanced section. The hotkeys, this is like a whole different level. This is something I don't use, so it's not something that I've actually looked into. So this is more of getting yourself going on OBS, any tips, tricks, and because the people that are that much more advanced, that use control decks and hotkeys, they won't really need to watch this. So the first thing that you want to do is to choose which service that you're going to use. So whether it be Twitch, YouTube, DLive, Facebook, Restream, Twitter, stroke Periscope, you do have all different types that you can or uploading platforms that you can choose from. So the one that we're going with, oops, let me just cancel that and go back in. So the one that we're actually going with is DLive. So there is only one server on DLive, which is the default server. But OBS actually gives you the option to, you know how I stream now, where I have the backdrops, I have like my chat on the screen. What it is a streaming program. So it's more often than not used by a lot of gamers. So, and it gives gamers the opportunity to pull in the game that they're playing into what it is. OBS stands for Open Broadcast Software. So it is broadcasting software. So it pulls in any information that you put into it. And then what it does is it broadcasts it out to whichever platform that you're going live on, whether it be DLive, Twitch, YouTube, Trovo, Vaughan, all those different types of sites, Facebook Live. So it gives you, it's a lot of these platforms may allow you to go live either using their own or downloading a piece of software, but you're not able to do much with it. It's all very basic. A bit like Streamlabs, yes, no. Yeah. But the thing is, with Streamlabs, it is very resource heavy. So you're going to need a lot of computer power. You're going to need RAM. You're going to need the graphics power. OBS is more user friendly. It's less heavier on your resources, and Streamlabs is basically, the core of it is the same as OBS, but you don't have as much built in as what you do with OBS. I wouldn't know that, Eric. It's open source, so you've got a lot of different developers working on it. There's no one person. But that type of information, you can look it up on Google and you'll be able to find it pretty easy on there for you. Right. So what you would do from I'm going to take from DLive on your main dashboard from DLive, and to get to it is the little camera that you see that is on, if you're on a PC, is the little camera on the right hand side next to your little badge, your little round badge. And when you've filled everything out on your dashboard, you'll see at the very bottom it will say encoder information. Now this is where you get your all your information to be able to stream to DLive. Without that information, you can't stream anywhere. It goes exactly the same for Twitch, YouTube, and any other platform. Without that information, you can't stream. So once you've got your stream key, and with DLive, what it'll be a number of numbers and letters, and I think it'll have your name after it. So then what you would do, I'm not going to show mine because 1, it's against TOS, 2, it's private. um, so then what you would do is you would paste your stream key into where it says stream key, and then you would click apply. Once you have done that, the next important thing is that you would need to configure the best settings for your OBS. So the easiest way to do that is to go to Tools. I'm not going to go through the process because it will cut this stream and start an auto config stream. So what you would do is you would press auto config and go through the process of what it tells you to do. And what it will actually do is it will ping DLive. So it will show that you're live, and it will be about 16 seconds. And what that will do is it will test your internet connection, how fast, on the bit rate, what would be the perfect screen size for you to go out on, and also the perfect frame rate. And this is the quickest way instead of putting in everything manually. Now, I've done this in the past, put everything in manually because I thought, well, this is what I go out on YouTube. This is going to be fine for DLive. No. No. Because each each different streaming platform has their own servers. So whatever you stream out on, for example, on YouTube, isn't necessarily going to be the best option for DLive. So the easiest way for me personally that I have found it, whatever I stream out on DLive should be okay for YouTube. Until now, with the new laptop, I've not had that problem. Right. Everyone with me so far? Because I don't want to get too far ahead and then it was like, oh, Sarah, on when you were talking about this section, could you repeat that for me, please? So I'm going to go through it step by step and just make sure that you're all with me still. And I know some of you don't use PCs at all. So you're with me, Eric. Good. Yep. 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 Brilliant. Okay. Good. Right. So once you've run through your auto configuration and it's tested it out, what you will then see, I have to keep remembering which mouse I'm using. What you will then see, if you go back into your settings, and you can get into it from 2 ways. You can get from it from the file settings, or you can get to it from the bottom of the side there. Some people find it easier going file. Some people find it easier when it's actually on the screen. Yes, quite right, Glenn. And I am willing to help people in private. Eric knows I've spent time with Eric. I've spent time with Marika, with Megan as well, with a a Zoom problem. So I am willing to help and spend that time with you if you come across a problem. And you find that with some of the videos that are out there, they're more for the high-end machines, not necessarily for low-end machines, laptops, that kind of thing. So this type of, I have done something similar before, and I know that a lot of people actually found it quite helpful. So once your auto configuration is done and all your stream key is in, now you can go back into your settings and you can see what DLive has said, or any other streaming platform has said, what your optimal settings are going to be. So this is a bit blurry on the screen, but I will read it for you. So the first thing, this is where it gets a bit confusing, so bear with me. If you need me to repeat something, let me know. So this section here, especially under encoder, is going to tell OBS what to use. Some machines, especially laptops, you're not going to be able to give them a choice. And this comes under the encoder section, which is just here. So if I was to drop down my box, normally you would have something X264 H.234, I think. Don't quote me on that one because I'm going from memory. Or you will have your graphics cards. So with me on my normal OBS on this laptop that I'm using to stream out on, it comes up with NVIDIA. So with my old laptop, as it has a built-in graphics card, so the majority of the power that it uses comes from the processor. So the only choice that I have is to use X264. Now, if you're not sure whether you have a built-in graphics card or not, you will be able to find out here. If you've only got that option, your graphics card is built in. So with that, then you're going to know, right, I am going to be limited to some things that I am going to be able to do on OBS. And I will explain that as I'm going through. So what you would do is you would choose the encoder that you're able to. So if it comes up with NVIDIA, choose the NVIDIA. If it chooses I think it's the H.234, I can't remember off the top of my head, so please do excuse me, then choose that option. If you've only got the X264, then choose that option. So that tells you what it's going to use, graphics cards or internal processor. The rescale output, I'll go on about that in a minute because that's all to do with your video. This is to do with your resolution, what you're going to be going out with. So I shall go back to that section a little bit later. Your rate control, everybody recommends CBR. For what reason, I cannot tell you. I just know from the settings, OBS chooses from the auto config, and from all the videos that I've watched online, almost everybody uses CBR. If you would like me, on my Nitro, it comes up with a slightly different option because I use my NVIDIA. The options aren't too different. I should have actually done a screenshot of that. It's a bit stupid of me, really. And I don't think I can actually get into that. Bear with me. I might actually be able to get you a quick shot. Oh no, I've actually got mine showing exactly the same. Okay. Right, so your bit rate. This is one of the most important things when you're going out streaming. And People think that you need to change your bitrate if you have a low-end PC. No. The lower the bitrate, the faster your system has to work. The higher the bitrate, the less CPU it is going to use. So if you have a low-end PC, it's actually going to save you space on the CPU, on the percentage that is actually being used. You with me on that one? Just to check, because I know that that can be confusing. Hopefully you're all still following me. Brilliant. Fantastic. Good. Right. The next section. So the bitrate, a lot of the time, if you're using the auto config, that gets tested as well for you. So it will state the custom bitrate to your internet connection. A lot of like DLive, if you go through their settings, which I will actually show you a little bit later, is it will tell you to put your keyframe interval on 2. If it's on 3, if it's on 1, you could have problems with the data being sent to DLive, and it could cause you buffering problems, lagging. So DLive, I don't know about YouTube or Twitch. I think it's also 2. So it's best to keep your frame rate on 2. The next section is CPU usage. So, and as it states here, the higher it is, the less CP that it actually uses. So I've actually got this on at the moment, and this is all my old settings from when I used to stream. So nothing's actually been changed. So at the moment, it's on ultra fast. It can, at times, still cause problems. Yes. um, so if you've gone tested everything else and everything else seems fine, what you can actually do is just lower from maybe ultra fast to super fast. So, but nothing below faster, because then what that's going to do, especially if you have a low end system, if where OBS, if especially if you've got it on very slow or something like that, you're not going to have any memory left or processing power left for to be able to do anything else, because OBS would actually be taking all of that power. So you can play around to see which setting is actually best for you. Profile, keep as main. The tune, again, leave it with as what OBS has set it for you. A couple of these options are on the more advanced side. So if that is something that you want to look into, there are a lot of very good videos on YouTube, even full tutorials, I can't talk, that actually goes into more detail on the advanced options on OBS. And also the OBS website also has some very good tutorials and actually goes through each section bit by bit. So, oh yes, and before I forget, when you actually go to output, you will have it on simple mode. So this just tells you the basic information. So always change it over to advanced, because then it gives you a little bit more room to play with. you are able to record over OBS. If you want it looking in at the same quality that you're streaming out on, then you've got the options here at the bottom where you just set it to exactly the same as in the streaming tab. If you want it, and if you're on a lower end laptop or a low end PC, but you want the quality to be better, then what you can actually do is you can turn the bit rate up, and you can be able to rescale the output. But again, I will go through that when we get to the video section for you. So once there is that different audio tracks that you can use and a replay buffer. I don't recommend enabling a replay buffer if you're just streaming like the majority of us do. We just stream out there, whether it be playing a game, panels, music. So you can leave that unticked. So the next section that we go to is audio. But before I go on to the audio, is everybody okay on that section there to do with streaming? On the output. So but this is all the information basically that gets streamed to DLive or streamed to YouTube or streamed to Twitch. Yep. Yep, just putting a thumbs up is all right as well. So long as I know that you're all following me and that you've got no questions to do with that in particular section. Brilliant. Okay, so the next section that we go to is the audio. And this is where, okay, well, I'll stay on the output for the moment. Okay, what is it that you want to learn a little bit about, Eric? So if you let me know in the chat, because then what I can do, I can, anything that I need to go over again, I can go over again for you. That's not a problem. Or any questions. Right, the lagging behind part, yep, that's a little bit further on. It is to do with the output, but it also goes with when you've actually set up your scene, Eric. That's okay, Cynthia. That's okay. Normally I would have done, and I think I might have said the wrong time the other day, but because this is something sort of quite in depth, I decided to start an hour earlier. But no problem, hun. But don't worry about the lagging, Eric. I will be going over that. So don't worry. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I can understand that. Right. Well, I can go over that with you. Um, it's actually pretty easy to rectify. Right. So are you okay with that, Eric, for the moment? And I'll tell you about the lagging problems because that comes under all the different types of problems that you can get and how to rectify them. Wait, cheeky, stop biting my slip. Yep. Okay, brilliant. Okay. I know this is long-winded and you know it's can be quite daunting, so I do understand. Right, so the next section is the audio. And this is relatively easy about all the information that goes into here. So keep it on 48 hertz, which is the highest one out of the two. Keep it in stereo. So the desktop audio, this is where you would choose so what you would hear through your speakers is what you would choose on the desktop audio option. So with me, on my old laptop, I choose the Realtek High Def Audio. So this is pretty self-explanatory. You can have a second desktop audio. Is it 43? No, you would need to put it on. It should be 48, Eric. Or the highest one that your laptop offers. So if you have something like, I use Discord sometimes with my voice channels so that Glenn can talk with me, or I might have it open for anybody to join. This is when you would actually set up a secondary audio. So then what that actually does is that it bring in your the Discord audio to that. So that would actually be something for a different time. Otherwise, it would make this stream even longer. And I only learned that myself probably 2 months ago now, and I haven't actually refreshed my memory. But there are some very, very good videos on YouTube if you wanted to pull something like your desktop, the audio from your Discord. And really easy to follow. I found it very easy to follow. So the next section is actually your microphone. So if you have, if you're using something like your headphones or a combination, is then you would choose what your standard microphone is. And it's that, as you can see from me, I've got a choice there. I've got a stereo mix. I've got the Ostrom microphone, which is actually the microphone from my old webcam, which I've plugged into the Toshiba. Okay, then that's the highest it goes, Eric. That's okay. So that is actually my webcam microphone, or I've got the Realtek High Def. So if that is the standard microphone that you want to be using, so if you're on a laptop, that is the internal microphone that is actually with your laptop. If you have something like just like a China brand oh, I can't get this close enough. There we go. If you've got just like a China brand microphone and you're plugging into your the jack socket, you would still choose your standard. So for me, that would be my Realtek. If you would have something like the Blue Yeti or any of the Yetis, um, I don't know it. I don't know if they actually come up in the drop-down box. It might be that, especially USB mics, you'll see it listed in that box, so you would actually choose that microphone. So that is more or less your audio that is set up. Everything else, you can just leave exactly the way that it is. Right, okay. Is that all for the audio? Yes. Um, it is. Right, so say for example, you might have two people in the room. So you have one, say for myself, I'm talking on my integrated audio, the microphone, but you might have somebody else with you that's across the other side of the room, and you want to be able to hear them also talking. So then what you would do is you would either choose then you would choose audio source 2, and this isn't for Zoom, this is just purely for microphones. So if you had four people in, then what you would do is you would choose the microphone that would correspond to that person. So relatively straightforward on the audio section. That okay for everybody? Understand that okay? The next section is actually the fun part, where the fun begins. Yep, okay. Fantastic. Okay, so your next section is your video. Now this is where we start playing around with OBS. So you've got different sections here that mean different things. So your base canvas resolution, as you can see here, mine's different. So your base resolution is what you see on the screen. Okay. Your output resolution is what is going to be sent to whichever streaming platform that you're going to. So DLive, YouTube, Twitch, so on and so forth. So this is going to be the quality. The downscale filter, from everything that the people that I've spoken to, let me just double check on mine just to make sure that mine's on. Yeah. You can, the downscale filters just helps with the quality of how you will be going out onto whichever platform that you're going to. So on my old laptop, I had it on bilinear, so it's fastest, but you could experience some scaling. On my Nitro here that I'm actually using, I've got it on bicubic, which I'll actually show you if I swapped over here, which is sharpen scaling, so it's going to be a lot more clearer and a lot more sharper. So what you would do, if you're not too sure on what each one means, OBS does have a very good description. But again, this is something that the auto configuration will choose what is best for you. So you can leave it with whatever's chosen. So I'll leave it on bilinear. Right, the next section is frames per second. And it goes on, my old laptop goes up to 60 frames per second. If you do have a low-end machine, try not to use 60 frames per second, because what that is going to do when you're going out streaming, you will see how I'm doing now. So it would be very, very jerky, especially when it comes to your gameplay. And from what I've seen, I've tried 60 frames per second, I've tried 30 frames per second. And in all honesty, the difference is minimal. So if you want to save yourself just that little bit more power, that little bit more graphic card space, that little more CPU usage, go out on 30 frames per second. If you find you're still having problems on 30 frames per second, you can quite easily drop down to 25. Again, between the two, it's going to be not as clear as 30, but you're still going to be able to go out and stream. So even on my Nitro, the laptop that I got this year, I go out on 30 frames per second, because to me, there's no point going out on 60. I'm just using bandwidth that I don't need to. I'm using power that is not needed. So, and it keeps all of the resources levels down to a lower level. If you do find, and I will go over this when we're actually in the main screen of adding sources in, if you do find that you are having problems, but your base resolution the same as your output resolution, because what that is going to do, because if you say, for example, like what I've got here, my base resolution is nice and big by 1280 by 720. But my output, so what I would be streaming, what people would see on DLive and other platforms would be 854 by 480. So, for example, if on YouTube where you can change the resolution, it will say 144, 240, 360, 480, 720, 1080. That 480 will tell you exactly what you're going out in. So even though my workspace I'm working at with is 720, I would only be going out on 480. If you're able to, keep your base resolution and your output the same. If you're having problems, you can drop your output. So it's a little bit of a lower resolution. And if you find you're still having problems, then change your base resolution so it matches your output. What you will have to do though, if they do match, if you do have to change the base, you will have to resize everything that you've got on screen. So you would have to shrink it down so everything fits. Some people will find that easier to have them both exactly the same, because then your CPU or your graphics card doesn't have to work as hard. Everyone follow me on that one so far? I know there's not much talking going on in the chat, so which means everybody's listening contently. You did. Good. Yep. Okay. Wonderful. So the hotkey section I'm going to miss. Yes, Miss Gladys. Wonderful, Ethel. So the hotkeys I'm going to miss, because this is more of an advanced section, and to go through each, what it is, the basic rundown, the short version, is you can program a certain key, a certain set of keys when it does a certain thing. So, for example, I just take the first top two. So if, for example, if you chose Shift, Control, and the function key, you can program, when you press those three keys, it will start your stream. And then if you wanted to stop the stream, you can program something like, I don't know, Shift, Control, and the down arrow key. And when you would press that combination, it would stop the stream. That is basically what hotkeys are. They're shortcuts. Um, Hi, Mark. I don't know, but it's nice that you're here anyway. So that's basically what the hotkeys is. But if you just want to stream your games or your music, like what a lot of us do, you don't really need to use the hotkeys. So under the advanced, I know we will. we will, Paul, Ethel, we will. I'm not streaming tomorrow at all, so I've got time during the day, so we can have a chat then. So under the advanced section, a couple of these you can actually use. So have your process priority above normal. So what this will do will tell your CPU that OBS has to take the forefront in all of the other programs that you're running. The video section would that is automatically picked up by what graphics cards, whether it be like an NVIDIA or an internal graphics card. That is what OBS would pick up. Stream delay. Don't have this enabled unless you want to have a delay on your stream. What I do, I will briefly enable it, turn it down to 2 seconds, and then turn it off. If you do find you're lagging and you have the preserve cutoff point switched on, what this will do, say for example, you have a disconnect. So your stream goes red, your OBS starts buffering on whatever streaming, and then you come back. Instead of OBS connecting up live, so you're able to carry on where it left off, what it will do, it will everything that you say during that disconnect, it will save. So for example, say you had a 2-minute disconnect on OBS before it comes back on. It will then start to run 2 minutes delayed. So then what you see, everybody else will see at a 2-minute delay. So leave that switched off. The automatic reconnect, again, this is also to do with your disconnects. Have it enabled. Have your retry, this is the how it tries to retry. Have it as low as you possibly can, so 2 seconds is normally fine. And turn on your maximum tries, just put it up to something like 1,000. So what this means is if you do get a disconnect on your OBS, it will keep trying. So say for example you had this on 10 tries. If after your OBS can't reconnect after these 10 tries, it will completely disconnect and your stream will stop. So with it being 1,000, it gives OBS lots of time to try and reconnect until it is able to do that. Yes. Very true, Hunt. Right. This next section, network. This is down to your IP, to do with how you're streaming out. Exactly, hun. Yes, it's due to disconnects happening while the stream is running. Yeah. So it's a bit like the buffering. And for those of you that may watch Green Bay Wacky, many of us have heard over the last years, oh, it's an OBS disconnect. That's what that means. The network, where it says bind to IP, leave it on default, because then you're actually mucking around with your IP address and everything like that. Yeah, it's to do with a lot of the data being sent to the streaming platform, but I'll be going through that anyway now. So the beta section dynamically change bitrate to manage congestion. So say for example you're streaming out and then you find that your bitrate drops, and you can actually see that on my screen. It'll, no, you can't actually, it's here, it doesn't actually show. Right, what you'll actually see where it says live at the bottom of the screen, record CPU, and then it'll say 30 frames per second. When you're live, you'll get a square box, and it'll flash red, amber, red, yellow, and green. And then it will tell you what your how many kilobits you're streaming out on. So when it's red, it's normally when it's having problems. So, and you'll see the bit rate dropping. So when you have the dynamic change ticked, what it will do is OBS will try to work when you have those bit rate drops, so you're still able to stream. And also the next one, enable network optimizations. This one's pretty self-explanatory. It tries to keep everything optimized for you. If you do have an internal graphics card, especially if you're using something, you're pulling something in, like let me see, for example, StreamYard. They always recommend to enable browser source hardware acceleration. What that means, it just gives whatever browser source that you're using just a little bit more power to keep it running, because browser sources actually use a lot of CPU processing time. And the bottom bit, I think that's all of that bit. Yep. Okay. Everybody okay with that bit? Yeah. I know, Mags. I know. Have you switched over to, have you installed OBS instead of the Streamlabs OBS? So once this is all set up, then what you can do, you can just hit apply and then okay. Yep, yep, yep. Okay, good. Right. Well, what I'm going to do, I think so. I can always run through this with you privately, so it's not a problem. And over at Discord, if it's in one of the voice channels, you can actually share your screen. So, say for example that somebody needed a hand, but I needed to have a look at their settings, or just have a look. Then I can get somebody into one of my voice channels. They can share their screen, their OBS screen, and I can actually see. So then I can better guide someone when I'm helping them. So if you bear with me for a few minutes, guys, I need to get myself a refill, and to um, do what one needs to be, what one must do, and then I'll be right back. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I am just going to, just so you're not listening to complete silence for a few minutes. Right. Right, this is copyright free music, so I know I won't really have any problems when this goes up on YouTube. Exactly, hun. For sure, no. So I'm just going to play a bit of music, just while I'm away from the screen, so you're not completely bored. So talk amongst yourselves in the chat for the moment, and I'll be back as quick as I can. So music is Savic, which is copyright free over on YouTube, and there's a couple of nice ones mixed in there. Okay. Won't be long. And we're back. Right, let's just stop that for a moment. Okay. Sorry about that. Needs must. Hello, Slursive. Thank you for the follow and welcome to the stream. Okay, this is when we get the fun time. Oops. Oh, yeah, there is something I wanted to open up here. Bear with me. 2 ticks, guys. Yes, I'm going to need this open. When it opens. If it opens. If it doesn't, I'll open it again in a minute. Right, okay. Now, this section here, this is where all the magic begins. Thank you, Mags. Yes, I am. Oh, dear. So what you're going to see once you've set up your mic, your desktop audio, and your microphone, you're going to see them in the audio mixer, which is this section here. This is where you control all your volume controls between the desktop audio, how loud your microphone is, if you're playing music. The desktop audio is where the sound comes from. So if you're pulling in something like StreamYard, if you're doing a panel, or if you're pulling something into Zoom, this is where all the audio volume is done with. You do have advanced audio properties. Now what you see here, even though it's ever so slightly blurry, say for example you had Zoom in your sources, which I'll actually go through. You can see here what the decibels are, what the balance is, and the audio monitoring. This is the important one. If it says monitor off, only the people that are watching the stream will hear the audio. Okay? If you have monitor only, as it says, mute output, what will happen is that only you will be able to hear, for example, if you were using Zoom, if you had it on monitor only, mute output, only you will be able to hear the people in Zoom. They will be muted for everybody that is listening to your stream. The third option is you've got monitor and output. And what this means is that what I hear, so whether that be music, a panel, ways that you can do it is that you want people to listen to the gameplay music, but you want to listen to music yourself. Then what you would actually do is you would have monitor only, mute output if you wanted to listen to music yourself. For the microphone, for example, you want to have the monitor off because you don't really want to hear yourself through your headphones or through your speakers. So have that switched off. So everything you want your audience to hear, have on monitor and output. Does that make sense to everybody? And I know that Cynthia was having some problem with her audio when it came to Zoom. So Cynthia, I don't know if you want to have a look in that option and see that it's to make sure that it is your because it will come up here underneath Zoom. I don't know if you want to make sure that you have it on monitor and output, because it might be that you have it on monitor only. So then this would have been the reason why only you could hear Ray but nobody else. And where you've actually mentioned that nobody on the panel could actually hear Ray, that is actually going to be from Ray's end. That is going to be his audio. What he needs to do when he's joining a Zoom is to make sure he presses the audio. And if it's nothing that's actually coming through, then he needs to go actually on the Zoom at the bottom where we've got the microphone icon and the camera icon. I think I'll be able to briefly show. He would have to choose the correct microphone. So if you're hearing everybody else on the panel, but he cannot be heard, it's going to be from his end, not your end. So I hope that helps if you're still there, Cynthia. Oh, my tablet is almost out of juice. I'll have to switch over to my phone temporarily. But does that make sense for you guys? If you need me to go over it again, I can do. That's not a problem. I'm just going to throw this on charge. Hope everybody understood that. Anybody? Yeah? Okay. Yep. Okay, that's good. I just wanted to explain the audio mixer to begin with. Let me just make sure that this actually opens for the moment. So then I don't actually yeah. Don't need you yet. Okay. Oh, go away. Go back down there. Right. Okay. So the first section that we're actually going to begin with is your scenes. If I have one of my old ones actually set up, my general I've taken off. Okay, right. I'm just going to swap over. And where this is really old, it takes a while to swap over. Right. So this is just gives you an example. It'll stay up on DLive for about 3 days max. but I will be downloading a copy to upload onto YouTube, so then it will be permanently on YouTube. And I will upload it over on BitChute as well and a few other places. So there'll be a permanent record so people can actually go back over. So what you can actually see from here is I've got different scenes. So for example, say if you had, like you saw this evening, I just had one picture up, just to say what the stream was about this evening, and then I added a new scene. So it's like a new chapter, and then I had my in my countdown video, and then I had another new scene, which then brought me up on the camera on my own, and then the next scene is actually what you're seeing now. So the scene area is like different chapters of a book. So I just wanted to show you this as an example. So if I'm, say for example, I'm streaming out, and I may just start on a normal screen, and then I want to change over to a different look. So then I would press the scene and it would change over to a different look. So for example, if you have an introduction, then you have your main screen. You may have a screen if you go and take a quick break. You may have an ending screen. So it's like a build-up of a book, or a build-up of a film, a beginning, a middle, and an ending. You don't necessarily have to do something like that, but it does help, especially if you're on your own. Maybe you're streaming on your own, and then afterwards, um, or during the stream, that you find that you want to do a panel. So in the background, you can open your Zoom, you can invite people in, and then what you can do is then you can press another scene. So then it changes, and then you would have your Zoom up, and then you can carry on with your stream. And then maybe if for example everybody gets down and you want to stream on your own again, well then you would go back to your main screen. So that is what scenes are, and they're very, very useful, especially if you think you want things to look different. Maybe you can have a scene specially set up for Halloween or Christmas, or you may want to stream out if it's your birthday. So this is where you can set different things up for different times of the year, if you're doing certain things on certain days. Um, so this is where you can change things about, and how things look different. So instead of having just one scene and all these different sources all in there, and you have to remember to turn some off for doing a particular stream, and then make sure that you turn them on for another. Um, and it can get really confusing. So having different scenes for different things is really, really helpful, and it doesn't confuse you. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch back over to a blank one. So as you can see from my different lists, I did mine ever so slightly different. I did them as collections. So or my musical scenes is a collection, musical, other types of music is in another collection, and so on and so forth, and then have different scenes within that collection. The rights of what I'm showing, well, it's all that is what I made up myself. No, if you're unsure if you're using images, video, GIFs, you can always look on Google under images in the tools section, I think it is. You can actually choose copyright free. And there's you can use websites like Pixabay that you can get copyright free images from. Um, and with those like the Mary Poppins and stuff like that, where it's only just a static picture, a lot of companies don't actually mind you using a static picture. They tend to turn a blind eye. It's you see lots of the music on YouTube, and people have like an album cover or slideshows from pictures, random pictures from a movie. You're not actually playing the movie itself. It's just a static picture, and a lot of uploading sites or streaming sites, they don't. That's to them, it's allowed. So you shouldn't actually get any problems. I've never personally had any problems. Let's put it that way. Right. So we're going back to our blank scene. And we're going to, let me see, I'm going to go and do 2 scenes. So once you've worked out what your base canvas is going to be and what your output canvas is going to be, now you can start creating something for people to see on screen. Oh, the My Moving ones, they were GIFs. It's like the animated pictures. It's not actually a video. What it is, you'll find it's maybe a 5-second video clip that somebody turns into a picture format. So, and that picture format, it's not actually a video. There's no audio. There's no. It's all it is just a few seconds or anything up to 30 seconds of movement. So, for example, I could doing movements here. I could record that, and then I would go to a site like Giphy, and then I would upload this small video clip, and what that will actually do is turn it into an animated picture. Hope that makes sense for you. Got it. Okay, good. Right, now with low-end laptops like my Toshiba here, with regards to if you wanted a nice background, there you go, no. If you wanted an animated background but you have a low-end machine, like an old laptop, then the easiest thing to do is just what I've just been talking about, is to use something like an animated GIF. So what I've still got a lot of what I use on this OBS, but not currently using. I have a copy of it on my Toshiba. So say, for example, you wanted to have um, a frame that maybe was ever so slightly animated, but then you wanted a static picture as well with it. But then what you would do, this is when you come into your sources area. And this is very much like layering. So basically what you're doing, you're having your base image or your base GIF or your base video, depending on what you're able to use. And what you're doing is like building. So you're building on top of each other, like layers of a cake. So the options that we have here, and I will show you. Come on, thank you. Okay, your audio capture, your input capture, and your output capture. Okay, Mags. If you didn't want to put what your audio sources are in settings, you can actually put them in here. So you can choose what your input capture is. So for example, that would be your microphone. And you can also manually add what your output capture is. So that would be everything if you were playing music. So that would be what your output is. So you could add that separately instead of having the audio mixer. I am nerdy. I'm very nerdy. Oh, your browser sources would be something like with DLive, it would be Tidy Labs. So that would be where you would have the amount of people watching on the screen, or you'll see some that have who subscribe to their channel, or the with lemons that are given away, or let's see what else. The chat up on the screen. These are all browser sources. With the browser sources, you have to remember, if you are on a low-end machine, try to use as little as possible, because what it does, these browser sources, because what it is doing is pulling all this information from another website. So again, it's using power, it's using resources, and that's pulling into OBS, which can be quite heavy in resources anyway. So then once you've got those resources into OBS, once all that data is being sent to whichever platform that you're using, it uses more resources. So what you're trying to do, especially if you're using a low-end system, is to try and keep all that processing power as low as possible. So if there's a browser source that you don't need to use, don't use it. Leave it out, because you will find that the CPU percentage, which you can see at the bottom, and I've not got anything up yet on my old browser, and it's running between 9 and 14%. And this is just the normal processes that are running. So I've got my OBS is running, even though that's taken priority. I have my browser open, and it's because I'm sharing my complete desktop, that is being sent from a browser source, and I am pulling in that source into this laptop here, into my OBS. So that uses processing power. And then I would have my Zoom, which again also uses processing power. So all these things, especially if they use a lot of power, processing power, that CPU usage is going to go up and up and up. Also, if you make sure, if there's things that are running in the background and you're not using them, close them, because that will also save you processing power and enable that few percentage to be used elsewhere, whether it be a couple of percent extra on OBS, on a game that you're running. It can mean the difference between having a static background and an animated picture running in the background. So whatever you're using, close. And if you're not too sure in which turn causes lagging, yes, it does, Glenn. You're quite right there. So you're trying to minimize everything, but still have your stream looking as nice as you possibly can with the system that you have. Confusing, I know, but you'll see eventually as I start to build things up. If you look at the CPU usage, which is in the bottom corner here, you'll see it starting to go up. So I'm going to show you the difference. So your color source I've not really used actually. Display capture is the display capture is like what I'm doing now. I'm capturing the display that's on my Toshiba and I'm displaying it on onto my Nitro. So everything that I would do on a display capture would actually be captured on the screen. Some people use this for using Zoom because there was a problem using Zoom at one point. A display capture is good if you have got more than one monitor. So if you have, for example, you're using a laptop and you've only got one monitor, try not to use a display capture because what that is going to do, whatever you have showing at the front is what is going to be seen on screen. If you have an extra monitor or if you're using something like a tablet where you can extend your screen, which I will also show you, then what you can actually do is to drag one item onto your separate monitor, or if you're using an extender, and then have the main area that you're going to be using, say for example a game, then you can use a display capture, but only you can then display just using the game. Game capture is quite self-explanatory. This is where it will actually pull in whichever game that you're using. So for example, if I actually click on that one, so you would you can leave it called game capture. That's fine. I do that. You have to make sure that you have to make the source visible. And then what you would do, you've got the different options under the mode, any full screen application, specific window, or a foreground window with a hotkey. So this goes back to any of the keys that you have programmed. Welcome back, Mags. So what I personally tend to use is capture a specific window. And then what you get next is then you get a secondary drop-down box which says window. And then what it will do is it will show you what is running and then you would choose your game. And then what it will do is it will actually bring it up into your script, up onto your screen. So then what that actually does is pulls your game into OBS. And I don't really, and what you can do is you can limit the capture frame rate. So then what that will do, for example, if your game is running at 60 frames per second, but you're only going out on OBS on 30 frames per second, with that box ticked, it will also limit that game down to 30 frames per second that it's pulling in. Again, it just helps keep any GPU or CPU usage down. So, but we're not using that one at the moment, so we can just get rid of that. And there is an ever so slight lag between what I'm doing on the Toshiba to what is coming on the screen. So the next one that we have, which is what a lot of people tend to use, is the image. Or you can use like an image slideshow. A slideshow is a group of pictures, and then given a time limit, it all that does is just pops up on screen, just different images that you can use. So what we're going to do, we're just going to do a basic image background. And if you have an animated GIF, you can use an animated GIF. If you're using something transparent, that would normally have the extension of PNG. If it's just a normal picture, if you can, try and save a picture in JPEG format, because it's smaller in size, and again, it keeps the processing down on your OBS with pulling those resources into it. So what we're going to do, we're going to call this background. So and then once we've named what the image is going to be, we now need to point what file that we're going to choose. And if you find that you're going to be using more than one scene, it's always a good idea to tick unload image when not showing, because what that will do, if that's not ticked, OBS will keep it running in the background. And especially if you're only your graphics is using your internal processor, you want to try and keep everything as minimal as possible. So what that will do is it will, as soon as you change scene, it will offload that picture and just reduce that percentage down ever so slightly. So we're going to choose an image. So I'm going to go, and another good tip, anything you're using for OBS, keep it in a separate folder, because then you're not looking for it here, there, and everywhere. It's all in one area, and so it's going to be easy to find. So for example, if I go to my for OBS, I'll just move that across a little bit. You'll see I've got my main OBS folder, but then I've got my subfolders. So backgrounds, if my games with images, my War of the World, my musicals. So they've all, any separate graphics for separate collections or scenes that I'm doing. Everything is all in its own folder. So then if I do need to go back to something, I know which folder that I need to go into. So what we're going to do, we're just going to choose any old background for the moment. Once it loads up. So you'll see that I've got a folder that says videos. Now, as I have a more powerful laptop now, I am able to run video files, so MP4 files. And the quality is better, things look better. I'll just open that folder quickly. There's not much here. No, there's not actually. No, I don't have. Oh, yes, I do. But again, I would actually need to do that would actually come under media source. So, but we're just using a static background at the moment. So let's say, for example, let's just choose this one here. So then it gives you a preview in the window. You can just press OK. And then what you do is you can, if your picture is a little bit small, like it is now, but it's not going to make that much difference if the picture is stretched. What you can do is right click on the picture, and then you've got all the different options that you can do. Transform is the one for sorting out the pictures. So say for example, it might be one that it's put in and it's the wrong way around. You can rotate the picture, you can flip it, you can fit it to the screen, you can stretch it to the screen, you can center it. So this is where you do your minor adjustments. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do stretch to screen. So then what it does is it stretches it and fills the whole screen. Yeah, it if you have everything ordered, then say for example, you've done your OBS, you've got all your graphics, but then you might have some saved in pictures, downloads here, desktop. You've got to go hunting to all these different areas to go and get all these graphics or all these different items. Whereas if you've got one folder, say in pictures, you can just create a folder saying OBS and you can put everything all in that folder. And then you're not having to hunt around for everything. Because if any of you are like me, you can have stuff plastered everywhere. It's like I've got stuff on my server. I've got stuff on this old laptop. I've got stuff on external hard drives. I've got stuff on this laptop. So having a centralized area is going to make your life so much easier. So once you've sorted out your background picture, you'll see here like a little padlock. So once everything's done, lock it down. Because then what that will do, you won't be able to move this around. So it's locked in place. So then you would have your base image. Everyone following me so far? Okay. And you would do the same on the sources if you wanted an image slideshow. But then what you would do is choose multiple images. Media source is where you would actually choose like video sources, but the same thing. So those are very similar. It's just that one is images, the other one is video, and even under audio source you can add like a music file as well. So then what we're going to do, so we've got our base. We don't really want to put our camera in just yet. And we might think, okay, well, I fancy something else. Something is missing. Oh, I know. Maybe I'll put like an animated frame. So then the next thing you would do, you would add a new layer, a new source, a new image, and then you would name that, say for example, oh no, I'm typing on the wrong one here, frame. So you would create new. So then what you would do, you would go and find out, you would go to, that always goes back to that, you would go to the folder where you would have saved your background, your frame. So for example here, no, that's not see-through. Hold on. And this is where it gets confusing for me because I got stuff here, there, and everywhere. Right, here we go. Is it this one? Yeah. So I've got a couple of frames here that are ever so slightly animated. So then what I would do is I would choose a transparent frame and I would add that one to it. And then I would click OK. So as you can see, it's quite small and it doesn't fit the frame. doesn't fit the whole picture. So then what I would do, excuse me, thank you, is then I would right click on the picture, I would go down to transform, and I would stretch it to fit the screen. So then what that actually does is saves you any work of sorting out, oh, stretch it this way, stretch it that way, and get it into the right size. You can, using the control key, do some resizing. If you need to crop something, you can use the Alt key, and that gives you the option where if you find that, for example, your camera's too big, you've got all at the sides here all being shown, but you want that cropped. What you can do with the Alt key, and I will actually show you in a bit, is that you can actually crop it down so it doesn't look as big. So once you've got your frame or whatever item that you've done, you can just lock it down. You can always tell when something's locked down because you'll see the lock sign, and if I was to move anything around on the screen, nothing moves. So, right, you've done your background, your static background, you've got a frame. This is only just examples if you wanted to have something like this. So the next thing that you think to yourself is, right, okay, now time to put my camera in. So then you would go to your plus sign at the bottom, you would go to your sources, and you would use video capture device. This is your webcam, whether it be built-in webcam or an external webcam. Now, just for this evening, I've actually added my old webcam to the laptop. So, and then you can either leave it called video capture device, or you can call it webcam, or if you're using multiple webcams, you can rename it webcam 1 or webcam Logitech webcam other person, so you know which webcam that you're actually going to use. So then, as you can see here, you see me on screen. So this is actually now using my internal webcam, but I'm actually going to swap it over to my webcam that's a better resolution. There we go. And if I just move that to the side, then you can just see me there. Hello. Excuse the mess behind me that you can see. So then what you would do, you would configure your video if you needed to slightly change any settings. Now, bearing in mind, this is only on OBS only, these settings change. If you've already mucked around with your video, with your camera settings, then you don't need to do any configuration here. This is just for minor tweaks. Then you've got your resolution and frames per second. You can have it as the default, which is what the webcam is, or you can choose your custom. So then with your custom, it gives you the options that you've got going as far down as 240, 480, 720, 10, 1080. So again, if you're going to be having a small camera picture on your screen, say for in a corner, you don't need to have it on the highest resolution that it's going to be. Again, it's going to use processing power. And if you're on a low-end machine, you want to try and keep that processing power as low as possible. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to choose the 480. And what you'll have here is match output frames per second. So whichever frames per second that you've actually put in your settings, it will match that here. What you can actually do, if you do happen to have it at 60, but you don't want your webcam running at 60 frames per second, you can drop it down to 30. If you wanted to play around with the color, you can. With the buffering, you can do it so it auto detects. There we go. The help's just come up. You can flip it. You can do it so it captures the audio only. And what you can also do, if you find that your webcam does have an internal microphone, but you don't want it to catch the audio, you can either tick use custom audio device, or you can just mute that actually on your audio mixer. So we've chosen our webcam, but we don't like the size. So I'll just turn around here for the moment so you can all see me and sort of hide my stuff there. um, so I've got this on at 480, so it's not a high resolution, but I don't want it showing extremely large on screen. So I would put it down, maybe in a corner, and you can have it as large or as small as you want it to be. That's entirely down to you. So then, for example, if you're streaming on Twitch, Twitch, I don't know how you really bring their chat in, but I will use DLive for an example. If you wanted to bring your chat in so it shows on screen, what you'll have to do is to have an account on DLive, and then from one of their browser overlays is you would choose your chat, and then what you would do is you would add it. Oh yeah, once you've finished sorting that out, just remember to lock everything down. With the okay, so back to the chat. Once you've gone through the settings, how you want your chat to look with the font, the colors, and everything else, then you would copy the link, the browser link from DLive, and then what you would do is you would add a browser source. And then what you would do is you would paste that browser source in there, and then you would resize as necessary. So if I just put browser source, I'll just put OK, and you'll see the URL, which is where you would put the link. Then you would have the width of what you would want the chat to be and the height. So you can play around with resizing and changing the width until you're satisfied with how big the writing looks, how wide across the screen you want the chat to be, and so on and so forth. And if you do, you can get custom CCS, which you can do through different websites, especially if you're using something like YouTube. You can configure different colors, different text, and then what it will do afterwards is you'll get lots of coding at the bottom of the website, which what you would do is you would copy, save it in a text file, otherwise you'll lose it if you ever needed to use it. And then what you would do is you would paste it into the custom CSS area. And then what that will do, if, say, for example, you then created a YouTube chat and it was the text is transparent and it's in red instead of white, this is where all that magic happens. And then what it will do is it will automatically bring it up all in your OBS screen for you. That you follow me on that? Everyone okay on that one? But again, bear in mind, any browser sources that you use can be heavy on your CPU. So I just delete that one as it's not being used. Yep, okay. So, and if you actually look at the bottom, my CPU has gone up by a small amount. It's not, if I was using a video background, then my CPU usage would actually be a lot higher than what it is. Okay, good. So we have our camera, we have our background, and for argument's sake, so we have our chat. Or you can just have it as a big camera. Now, like with if you didn't want to have your chat on DLive, from DLive, but you didn't want it on screen. Now, another tip that will reduce the usage for you is if you go to your browser. So that would be, so I would be, for example, my channel. Now this is a good little tip, and it'll actually save you a little bit of processing power as well. So majority of you know, those of you that are on DLive, you can pop out your chat. So it comes up like that. There we are. So what you want to do, and this is how I use my chat, is that I've actually saved the link of the pop-out chat. So I'm going to copy that for the moment. And then I'm going to go back to my OBS. So I won't, no chat up on the screen. Maybe it's just myself, maybe a few animated pictures, but I want to be able to see the chat. But because my browser takes a lot of CPU, I need to close my browser. Now this is where we have a really good little tool, which is called a dock. And this is what all these things at the bottom are: your sources, your scenes, your audio mixers, your scene transitions, your controls. They are all docks. Don't worry, no. That's fine, hun. You go and rest. So, and you'll see on the screen under docs. Oops. Let me change hands because I'm left-handed. So you'll see that we've got the scene, sources, audio mixer, transition, control. We don't have the stats on screen. So what we want to do, we want to bring our DLive chat as a dock into our OBS. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose a custom browser dock. So then what we can call it is DLive chat, for example. I can't spell. And then what we need to do is we need to paste the pop-out chat link that we've just copied. So what I would do is paste it into there, press apply, and then what you should see coming up on screen now. Okay, I'm not logged in at the moment, but let me log in on that. Right, come on, you're too big there. Right, there we go, that's better. Right, so what you'd have to do is to make sure that you log in. I'm not going to completely log in. But once that's actually come up on screen, then you click apply and then close. And then what that will do is actually bring up your DLive chat within OBS. So you can actually see your chat. And then what you do with the dock, you just move it around to where you want it. I normally have mine on the left-hand side. You can have it on the right-hand side, to the top, the bottom, wherever you want. So that way, again, you're going to be saving your CPU resources because you're not going to be having a browser open. All that is going to do is it is going to be pulling the DLive chat into your OBS, but it's not going to be sent out as a data package to whichever platform that you're streaming. Following me on that so far? And you can do that for any website. So you can do that for Google if you didn't want to have your browser open, but you still wanted to be able to use something like YouTube or Google, you're still able to access those sources but within OBS. And as you can see, even though I've pulled in my chat as a dock into OBS, my CPU hasn't really gone up anymore. Okay. So this is sort of how my OBS looks. It's I'm looking. I've got the camera, I've got my scene, but I have you guys off to the sides, and you can actually still type as well. So if you don't want the chat on the screen, this is another possibility. You can see the chat where you don't have to have like um your browser open. Right. Let me just think briefly. Oh, and you can actually drag this to make this as big or as small as you want. Hey, RC, how you doing? What you can also have with OBS is a virtual camera. And what you can do if you're using something like StreamYard, but you want to show off how your OBS looks, but not stream using OBS, you've got something called a virtual camera. So you can, instead of choosing your webcam, for example, in a StreamYard or Zoom, you can actually use your OBS screen instead. Yes, you can do that as well. Thank you, RC. You can disable preview as well. But I know, like with a lot of people, they like to see how things are running, if there's any lagging, so then they can see how things are going. But if you've got everything running and you don't really need to worry, then you can just turn off your preview. Not that that's something that I actually use myself. So then this would actually be a basic scene for you, for yourself. So then, for example, say you've got other options. Oh yeah, this is what I actually wanted to do as well. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate everything that we've done here. So what I would do with scene 1 is I would right click and press duplicate. And then what I would call it is, let's just call it scene 2 for argument's sake. Or Zoom. Scene 2 Zoom. Okay, so now I've done a complete copy of my first scene. So now what I can do with this second one, if there was something that I didn't want, I could just take it off. Or if I wanted something added to it, I could just do that instead. So what I am going to do is just going to create just a blank meeting there. So say, for example, you wanted to do a Zoom room. Yeah. That's fine. That's fine. So say if I still wanted myself being shown on screen, so on our little computer, on our little webcam at the bottom of the screen, but I wanted to bring, yeah, you can do. Well, at the moment, what I use, which is charging, to use as to extend my desktop, I actually use a tablet. So I can have like my game running on my main screen, but I'll have my OBS running on my tablet. And that's using free software. as well. So we've got our Zoom. So, and now we want to import, and now we want to bring it into our OBS. So I'll go back into the OBS, and we wanted this in scene 2. So then what we would actually do is this time we would actually add a window capture. So what we would do is we would call it Zoom or something. You can call it Zoom. So then what we would do is that it would actually say their Zoom meeting. So then what I would, why is that not coming up like that? Right, Zoom meeting. Okay. So then what we would actually do, it'll say Zoom meeting. And then with an older, that should normally actually come up automatically. Then what you would need to do is capture method. Now with here, I've got it, normally it would do with automatic, but for some reason it's not. See, now this is where things can get funny. Hold on. Right. Let's try this again. Because normally it accepts my Zoom straight away. So why is that not actually coming up? I actually had this set up the other day, believe it or not, and it worked lovely. So for some reason it's capturing that and not actually my, right, okay. If you do happen to come across this problem, you shouldn't, but if you do, then another way that you can actually do it, and it will still work, hopefully it works for me today, is to do it as a game capture. And then you would choose the specific window. There we go. And no, it's not going to work. Damn you. Now there we go. This is typical of this is typical. Now this is why some people choose the display capture. Right. Yeah, well yeah, it's yeah, but that's using 2 monitors, RC. I'm just doing this purely just with using one. Because where a lot of people tend to use laptops or can't afford to get extra screens and so on. So obviously if you can afford stuff like that, you can have different, right. I am going to get you up here and you are going to do as you're told, Zoom. Right. Enter full screen mode. Right, change that back over. So for some reason, it is not going to have it today. And I know if I actually, right, okay. Right. So that is not going to have any of it. So what we're going to do, so we're going to have a very minor, quick changeover. Right, okay. Yes, 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 yes. Right. So So I'm actually just quickly going to, no, I don't. It's because it's old. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. So what I'm actually going to do is, um, there we go. Right, so you actually see on my screen now. So I'll just put it here. So just pretend that this is actually um, my Zoom, but on the other laptop. I know, I'll see, right? Um, so then what you would actually do once you've actually got that all up, some people find that they have a white screen. So let me just put that over there for the minute so you can still see. So the easiest way to do it, which is what you'll see down there, is you want to change your capture method to Windows Graphics Capture Windows 10 1903 and up. Say the 1903 might have a different number by yourself on your own systems. So if you find it's not coming up for any reason, make sure that you change your capture method, because then what that is going to do is it's going to tell Zoom, oh right, I need to be on it's going to tell OBS I need to be on this one. So, and then what it'll do, it'll actually pull in that the capture from Zoom. So that was a bit of ad lib in there. I thought it might have actually worked today on Zoom, but on the other one, but never mind. So are you all clear all on that for the moment? If you are, then I can pop on to the next one for you. Let's just close that doc there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So then if you were out streaming and you wanted like your Zoom, so imagine that picture, you maybe have like a couple of friends on there. So what you can do, you can have your video. If you've only got one webcam, you can have your webcam turned off on Zoom. You can, if you have a secondary, or I think you can actually use this exactly the same audio input, so your microphone. So the microphone will be picked up on Zoom and also on your webcam in the corner. Hey, Craig. Okay. So yeah, some with older systems, and if you have Zoom installed, it will normally, especially on that, normally it actually picks up the Zoom straight away. But on newer machines, you might have to change the capture method. Great ad-lib in there. So let me just get rid of that because I don't actually need that anymore and close down my Zoom. Right, exit out of that, and for all, yes please. Okay, so let's just get rid of that. Okay, so then we say, for example, so for argument's sake, I would have had a Zoom picture up here, and but that I was on scene one, and then people were coming up. You want to have a panel, so then what you would do is just switch over to your scene two. So that's where the scenes come in. So you can swap between different looks. You can do as an image slideshow that you can change different pictures, so it does it automatically. If you have animated GIFs that you want as a large background picture, You can use an image slideshow that you can actually change so it'll run through the GIFs. So say, for example, if you had an animated background that was only 3 seconds, it would run for 3 seconds and then go on to the next GIF, and so on and so on. Right. But that is the basics, more or less, of getting everything into OBS to actually get you started. What you can actually do, if you've created a dedicated zine, yeah, I'll be going all through that, RC. Yeah. Say, for example, what you would prefer to do is just to have a completely blank scene, but you would want to have your zoom pulled into it, showing in that instead. Then what you can do is back on the scene 1 is you can actually add a scene into your source list. Now, a lot of people do this as well instead of mucking around with swapping scenes. So say, for example, we'll add a scene. We've only got one. So then what we would do is we will add that scene in. So it looks exactly the same at the moment because it's full screen. So then what I would do is just resize. So say, for example, scene 2 just had full screen your Zoom. But you don't want to swap over, but you would really like to have your Zoom in OBS. Well, then what you would do is add that scene, which whatever you've called it, and then you would just add it into your main scene. So then when you're not actually using it, you can just turn it off, which to turn it off with just by the eye next to the lock screen. So then the next time that you want to use Zoom, all you need to do is just to unhide it. So pretty easy. Like with anything, when you're looking at OBS to begin with, it looks very daunting. It can be. It can be very confusing to begin with, but once you start playing around with it, getting used to how things are, then you'll find that you'll be able to go through it pretty quick. So this would be just like a standard setup, and then you would start streaming. If you want to see how you're performing when you're streaming, then what you would actually do is you would go to view where all your docs are, but then you would actually choose the one that is called stats. So I do have a larger preview of this. Oh, where's that gone? Where are you? There you are. So, and what this is, you'll see here, your CPU usage, how much you're using, your frames per second, then you'll have average time to render a frame. So at the moment, just with this little one that we have, is anything between 1.5 and 2.6 milliseconds. Now we've got here missed frames due to rendering lag. Now these are the areas that you would need to look at if you're coming across any problems, which is what I'm going to be going through next. So we have our rendering lags and we have encoding lag, and then we have the dropped frames. Now this area here is all to do with the data being sent to whichever streaming platform that you're going to. More or less, yeah. This is just the basic setup. So what I'm actually going to do, let me turn these all off so I can give you a bit of a blank screen, because then I can actually show some stuff on stuff up. So let me just hide my Toshiba for the moment. Okay. So a lot of the common problems is down to high CPU usage and data. So, and I'm going to bring up my written tips screen, because then I'll be able to go through that with you as well. Hello, DOFD Design. Thank you for the following. Good evening. Okay. Right. Now, the missed frames, skipped frames, dropped frames. This is where it gets a little bit confusing, but bear with me, because these little tips, what you can actually see at the side of the screen here, is what is actually going to help you reduce down some of that usage and to be able to stream better. So the skip frames, which is what we have here, is that it's down to high CPU usage. So you'll see the percentage will come up, and this is due to an encoding lag. So again, rendering, encoding, and sending the data all uses your CPU usage. So if you find that you are having a lot of skipped frames and it is causing you some problems, what you can actually do, if you do have, if you are able to access your separate graphics card, now this is mainly for those with laptops, if you change from X264 to the graphics card, so for example on mine it would say NVIDIA, so then you would change, so then what that actually tells OBS, instead of using your processor, your CPU, to actually use your graphics card. That would actually help to limit the skipped frames. See, this is all to do with usage on your CPU and your GPU. And what you can also do as well, which will help with skipped frames, is to lower your frame rate. So for example, if you're on 60 frames per second, lower your frame rate down to 30. If you're having skipped frames on 30 frames per second, drop it down to 25. And you can drop it down as low as low as you can see until those skipped frames stops. And you can bring up your stats at any single point before you stream. You'll always have skipped frames or frames missed when you first start OBS up, especially frames missed, because it's loading everything into OBS. So once everything's all loaded, you can just press the reset. And what you can also do within the settings, which comes up on the preset, which I will just bring up my Toshiba again now and bring up the settings quickly. Output, right. So I'll just hide the tips for the moment. So what you'll see here, the CPU usage preset. So what you can actually do as well is lower that down ever so slightly. If you find that ultra fast is too much, you can just lower it down until you find a balance that is good for you. Right, other mouse. So the dropped frames, I'm going to leave the rendering lag till last because it is a little bit to go through. So the dropped frames, so for example, this would actually be the data being sent to DLive. And you'll hear quite commonly, oh, well, have you checked have you checked your network speed? Have you done a speed test? The speed test is actually tests from your network provider to your laptop or to your computer. It has nothing to do with the data being sent to the streaming site that you're going to. So if you find that, especially with DLive, if you're having dropped frames, what it is going to be, it's because they're either working on the servers or the network itself is busy. So what it is, you're going to have, I use my hands as a description. So you have your data packages sent up to any streaming site, Twitch, DLive, YouTube. So you get data packages. Now, if anything is going on the receiving end, what it is actually going to do is it's actually going to cause like a traffic jam. So you get a build-up of congested data packages. And that is actually what causes your dropped frames. um, so dropped frames is actually due to the data being sent to the streaming website. So whether that would be Twitch, DLive, YouTube. I know with Twitch, within the main in the stream settings, you can switch servers. So if you find that a server that you're on is causing dropped frames, stop your stream and change a different server. YouTube, you can't really do that. You've got your primary and backup, so you can try and swap between the two there. DLive, unfortunately, only has one server to choose from. So if you hear that, have you done a speed test? And if nothing is wrong your end, it is coming from the actual platform that you want to stream to. There's a problem their end. And it shows you there on your stats, dropped frames is due to the network. So, and it's the output. So it's the data going to the actual site. Hey June, thank you for the ice cream, darling. Right, the rendering lag. Again, this is all to do with settings, how you can reduce them to try and get the power usage down. Let me just cancel that at the moment. There we go. Okay, so with the rendering lag, so this is the frames missed due to rendering lag. Okay. Exactly, no. Yes. Because what all that a speed test does is tests your connection to your internet provider. That is all a speed test does. So if that is fine, it's to wherever that you're streaming out to. So and if they turn around and say, well, if you've done a speed test, you can just write them and say, well, what's the point in doing a speed test when it only goes to my network provider, not to the streaming site? Right, so with the rendering lag, there's a few things that you can do. Like you saw at the beginning, when I first opened up OBS, run OBS as an administrator. If you're using OBS, always use OBS through LAN, through a cable. Don't use it on Wi-Fi, because what happens, you got to think, it's like a daisy chain. okay? Wi-Fi, it's chains of data, yeah? And if your Wi-Fi signal drops, that chain breaks. So then everything drops, and then it has to start up again and carry on. Whereas you're going through a cable, it's stable. Because it's like, instead, like it, what can I use as analogy? Batteries in a power cable. Okay. When batteries start to run out, the sound starts to go up and down, and you start getting problems. Yeah, when battery, say if for a radio, for example, stable cable, exactly. So with batteries, if you're listening to something, the sound starts going in and out, in and out, in and out, and that's because of the power. If you're using a cable, you've got a constant flow of power going into, for example, the radio. So you've got that consistency there. And even if you go onto the OBS website, they always recommend using a Ethernet cable and not using your Wi-Fi. And also, because where OBS can be quite resource heavy, if you've got lots of data going out and you're on Wi-Fi and it's going like this, as Eric, if you're still there in the chat, as Eric will know, before he got his Ethernet cable, and as some of you will know that also go to Eric's, his internet kept dropping out. And then he came back, and then dropping out, coming back, dropping out, coming back. So you want that nice consistency. So before you even think about streaming, get yourself an Ethernet cable. They're not that expensive. Yes, it does. It does run it does run faster than using Wi-Fi. Right. If you're gaming and you're getting frames missed due to rendering lag, drop your settings in the game. Drop it. If they're on high, drop them to medium. If you're still having problems, drop them to low. If you've got VSync option, turn your VSync on. If you've got access to the frames per second, yeah, yeah. You could. I got what was it? I got my 10-meter cable new on eBay, and it was only, I think, about €10. And then I've got two Ethernet cables. I've got a 15-meter and a 10-meter. And I've got them both, and my actual box is over in the opposite corner. Yeah, so if you've got access to your frames per second in a game, lower them down. Lower it if it's on 120, lower it to 60. If it's on 60, lower it to 20. Lower that frame rate until it runs smoother. If you don't have access, there is actually sometimes with graphics cards, you can have, if you open up the control center, you can actually add a game into the control center and put a frame rate limit cap. There are also pieces of software that you can actually download, and it will do exactly the same thing as well. So that will help, again, lower resources down. And the difference, like I was saying earlier, between the 30 frames per second and 60 frames per second is not that much of a big difference. It's minute. Also, going back to the actual video settings, you can just see a little bit of there. Let me just move that across a bit. There we go. Okay, again, this is all to do with rendering lag. change your base resolution to your output resolution. So they're both exactly the same size. But just remember, you will have to resize the base resolution. And what that will actually do is, because the base and the output are exactly the same size, it's using less power, and it's going, instead of having to encode from one size to a different size, it's all one size. So it's going to take a bit of pressure off of OBS as well. Also, what you can do is drop your webcam quality, which is what I mentioned before. So if you're on 720, drop it down to 480. Make the webcam smaller, even if you want to. If you're playing a game, this is a game based, you can also turn your webcam off. That will also help reduce the CPU usage, especially if you're on all the work is being done on an internal graphics card. Also, what you can do, which is what I've also mentioned, yeah, you can do that as well. It's not going to change that too much though, RC. Yeah, with turning off the preview. What you can also do, which is what I mentioned earlier, is browser sources. So, for example, DLive. With DLive, pulling in the information from Tidy Labs, that takes resources as well. So if it's something that's not needed, turn it off. Even delete it from OBS itself, because again, that's going to save you resources as well. And if you've got something like Windows 10 running, go into the in your Windows settings and turn off game mode. Hey, do that. Hey Sponge, how you doing? I'm all right. How you, lovey? Um, what am I doing? I'm doing a complete OBS. Tips, tricks, how to set up. Um, yeah, I'm almost towards the end of it. Um, so yeah, if you're having problems with the rendering lag, turn off the game mode in Windows. Cheers, Dudette. So reducing all of these things that you're using, stuff in the task manager that you're not using, close them down. If you've got an antivirus that you can put into game mode, put it in game mode. What you're doing is just reducing all these different programs, pulling in that processing power. Once you've eliminated all of these things, what you should actually find is the problems that that you were having should be eliminated. It might not be completely eliminated, but it should run better than what it was beforehand. If you're still having major problems, especially if you're running an old laptop or an old unit, okay, then you might want to think about upgrading. They does recommend a minimum of 8 gig RAM, but that's the absolute minimum. I would always recommend to go for 16 gig of RAM, because you're going to have, the more RAM you have, the more your laptop or your PC is going to be able to do. On a laptop, you don't really need any more than 32 gig. 16 is suffice. Because all it is just memory that is not going to be used, and you could have saved yourself some dollars. So so if you've got hardly anything running, and you've gone through all those things that I've just been talking about, and you still find that you're getting a lot of frames due to rendering lag, and especially if it's an internal graphics card, it might be worth upgrading. I'm not saying for definite, I'm just saying it might. And you could also look at the games that you're playing. If there is a game that you like, always check the specifications, because then you're going to know if your system is going to be able to handle the game that you're playing. So don't try to install and run games that you know for a fact are going to be very choppy and are going to cause you problems and take lots of resources, because you won't be doing yourself any favors, and all you'll be doing then is just complaining. No, if you're playing a game, yes, you do have that freedom. If you just want, if you're streaming, especially with using OBS, it's even on their website, it does tell you they do recommend to use an Ethernet cable, darling. So that is, now what I've just explained there is the majority of the most common problems when it comes to streaming with OBS. Yeah, I upgrade it to 16. You only need to double it, RC. If you're on, if check what RAM you got. If it's one stick of 8 gig, or if you've got two sticks of 4. If you've got two sticks of 4, what you're going to have to do is either to try and find something of exactly the same brand, because sometimes putting different brands in can cause problems. So, like with my old Lenovo, it only had 8 gig in there. But my cousin actually bought me, or should I say got me, two sets of 8 gig. So, and you're always if you're looking at laptops, just another tip, if you're looking at getting a new laptop, you want to have a dual RAM slot, not a single RAM slot, because a dual RAM slot is always going to be that much better for you. Oh, let's turn these off. So with everything all turned down, all your network settings checked, your sizes checked, and everything like that, then you should, your browser sources that you're not using, anything that you're not using in OBS, either turn it off or delete it. Especially a delete, if you know it's something that you're not going to use anymore, delete it. Because again, it's only going to waste processing power. And the thing that you're trying to do is to minimize that processing power. And then really, you should be good to go. I think. Let me. Oh, so I think that is more or less everything I can think of. Oh, you hide it. Battery's going on my light. Um, so I think that is more or less everything I can think of. I don't know if anybody's got any questions in chat. You're welcome, RC. Hi, Cecil. Thank you for the follow. I spent a long time looking at OBS after not touching it for a year. And I've gone from a 12-year-old laptop to a 5-year-old laptop to the laptop that I got this year, which is what I stream on now. So over the course of maybe 18 months, I've gone from only being able to use static background to using gift backgrounds to now being able to use the nice video graphics that are nice, clean, crisp, clear. So the better the machine that you have, obviously the more that you're going to be able to do and the better that you're going to be able to stream out on. So graphics card, RAM, graphics and RAM is really normal. It is sort of the main important thing. Well, I see what you are actually. There is, I think, and hang on. If you look on you know the books, Dummies, like Internet for Dummies, this for dummies, that for dummies. If you go onto dummies.com, they have some tips there. I think you can actually buy a book called OBS for Dummies. If you've got enough ink and paper, you can always print out the PDF, because then you've actually got it in your hand. Or another way to do it, if you have an ebook reader but you don't want it as a PDF file, you can actually, there's a lot of online websites, you can convert a PDF file to an EPUB and put it onto an ebook reader. So then you've got it digitally as well that you can go through it. There is lots and lots and lots of help out there. One of the channels that I go to on YouTube, and I can highly recommend subscribing to him. He is really, really funny. But when I was having the problems with my with drop frames, skipped frames, my rendering lag, I didn't know what was going on. And I actually came across this person's site and I was listening to what he was saying. This is where a lot of the tips, the written tips that I was reading this evening and had up on screen, actually where I got it from. His name is Nutty, Nutty, and he has long dark hair. He is a Twitch streamer, but he does a lot of stuff on OBS with plugins. If there's problems, what it could be, how to make your OBS look better. Another person which is also very good, who's also a Twitch streamer. I don't know anybody on DLive that does the type of thing. But Alpha Gaming, he's very good, especially if you're looking into cameras, microphones, tips and tricks. That's another good channel. And then you have Epos Vox, which is another really, really good channel if you're looking for more information. Civics. Is that another one, June? Okay. It's I look at a lot of I've looked at a lot of channels. Oh, does he do stuff on stuff like that? Okay, that's good. Thanks for that, June. um, yeah, so there's plenty of resources out there. All you need to do is just to sit down and have a look at what's out there. I do have um an OBS playlist. Um, don't know if it's public, but let me have a look. Um, right, I will make it on public. So if any of you are interested, um, and you want to, and you do want some more tips, this is the playlist that I've just made public on my YouTube channel. Um, so, and you'll find the videos there from Nutty, from Alpha Gaming, even from Epos Fox, um, and they'll go into a little bit more detail with stingers. And this is the scene transitions where you can use WebM files, very short files of a few seconds. Um, with my stinger that I use, you've already seen it a couple of times. It's just the black pit paranormal white noise that just zooms in and zooms out. Um, excuse me. You can find information on how to do that in editing software. There are sites like if you want something that is pre-made, you can use sites like Nerd or Die. They have free templates on there. It's at the moment they have a Christmas template, which as far as I know is free of charge, which you can download and use. Um, if you're looking it looks like Twitch frames, you can find transparent PNGs all on Google Images or whichever site that you use. um, so all the resources are out there for you. It's just depends if you're the creative type and you want to create something yourself, or if you just seen a package that you like on Nerd or Die or these types of websites that you want to buy, and then you can customize it as you want to customize it, but please do read these websites first. Okay, Jojo. So there are lots and lots and lots of resources out there. You just if you want to use something that like OBS, you do have Streamlabs, which is even more resource heavy than what OBS is. So if you do have a low end machine, you're going to have even more problems than what you would install in OBS. There is XSplit. With XSplit, um, with the free version, you're limited to the amount of stuff that you can actually do, even though that you can pay for it. As far as I know, it's not as resource heavy. Hi, John. You have Prism Live Studio. Again, not as resource heavy, but you're not able to do as much as what you can in OBS. If you want something that is extremely versatile, you've got lots of options that you can play around with. You can add in plugins. You can do some real cool yeah, a chicken boy. Yep, Stream Elements is good. I have Stream FX. Um, Stream Elements is good if you want in like chat and everything for YouTube. I did used to have Stream Elements installed, but I don't anymore. Yes, but I find I had trouble trying to get onto DLive using OBS Live. I only ever used that for YouTube. Um, so there's lots of plugins that you can use for OBS, little things that you can do. I've tried out some, but I've got to say for me personally, OBS has got to be the most versatile broadcasting software that there is out there. So if you want the best, use OBS. Yeah, I've seen some stuff on Nerd and Die Mags. Um, oh, you got their free Christmas overlay pack as well. Cool. Yeah, you'll find it. You know, you'll come across that some people might use something ever so similar, or it might be the same but a slightly different color. As some of these packs that you can get from Nerd or Die um, uh, are extremely customizable. I know what you meant, chicken boy. Yeah. Oh yes, thank you ever so much for that, hun. Thank you. I knew there was something I forgot. Right, let me switch over back to the other screen. Oh, actually, I can actually, yeah, I'll use the other screen as, like as if I was had my OBS. Take care, RC. Thank you for coming, hun. Right, so for example, we're back on our OBS screen. Thank you so much for that, hun. I forgot about that. So thank you for reminding me. Right, there is something called, right, let me get rid of this. Yeah. Right, I'll just spell it. Iruin, Iruin Webcam. This is free software, and there is an app for the phone as well. And what it will do, I won't connect my phone up to my Toshiba because it doesn't like it, and it's not really a um, Bluetooth laptop because it's so old. But what I am going to do is when you first open it, I'll show you what it looks like so you can see. Come on, you're going to open? You're not going to open. Anyway, what it acts like a server between your computer or your laptop and your phone. So when you've got it installed, what I'll have to do, where's my phone? Here we go. Right, you'll be able to see like a little box there opposite the side. And what I'm going to do, this is actually the software running on my Nitro because it's not loading up on the Toshiba. And then when I load up the app on my phone, it should connect up automatically. Where are you? There it is. So, and then you'll actually see you can turn your phone into a webcam. And as you can see from me talking from my normal webcam to the from the actual software that I'm using. There is an ever so slight lag, but I do have a lot running on here today. But you can actually see that the lag isn't that big. It's very, very minute. And even if I was to zoom the picture, mind you, the picture qualities on my camera is good anyway. But this is another option if you don't have a good webcam. And I'll just write in chat. So it's called, there we go. And if you find that your microphone isn't very good, you can actually also use the microphone from your phone. Good piece of software, especially if your webcam goes down and you're due to stream, and it is free of charge as well. So that is that piece of software. But actually, I will actually keep this camera open for the moment, because if I put this up here, another piece of software, stay there please. Okay, I'm going to have to use my stand. Move you over here. Right, let's put my phone on there. Right. Oops. There we go. Excuse the hands. I do apologise. Right, there we go. Right, another piece of software that you can use, and I've left my phone camera on because I actually wanted to show you this live. Again, you can actually see the name of it on the Toshiba, and it's called Sapcedesk. Again, free software, and the app is free as well. Does for iOS and Android. And if you have a laptop but you don't have a monitor, but you do have a tablet and you need some extra space, what you can do is install Sapcedesk. Let me just open it on my laptop, because then I can show you guys. Turn it on. Okay. Right. So this is space. Oh no, I'll have to turn. Okay. So this is Sapcedesk on my tablet, and you'll see it's already got a connect. It's already picked up the software that's installed on my laptop. Once I connect the connection, once I turn my tablet around, thank you. And then what you will actually have on screen is an extension of your desktop. So for example, let me see, what can I use? Right. So for example, I have my browser, but I find that the browser is taking too much room, so I need to use it across on another screen. Or OBS, for example. Obviously, I can't see. Where are we? There we go. So for example, I can move my whole browser across to my tablet, and it doubles up as an extension of my main monitor. So you can, in theory, say it's like a second monitor. So if you do find that you do have a tablet that you may not use that often, but you use your laptop more, But you do need to have a second monitor because maybe you're playing a game and you do need to be able to see your OBS, especially if you have your chat as a dock. This gives you the option without forking out a couple of $100 or pounds on an extra monitor. So if you're looking for a cheaper version until you're able to get yourself another monitor, this actually really helps. And this is what I actually use. If I am gaming and I do need to see the chat, I move my OBS onto here and I have my my game on the main monitor. So I hope that actually really helps you, and that's called Sapcedesk. And I can actually have it set up. I have had it set up, so I've had my laptop as my main screen, and then I've had my tablet as my OBS, and I've had my iPad as the browser. So then it's and then you just need to organize in which how you want it done. Oh my God, what do I play? Detroit Become Human, East Shade. What else have I played? Abzu, Dear Esther, Infuse, Journey, Rhyme, Phasmophobia, House Flipper, um, Firm Bus Simulator, um, so on and so on and so on. I play a lot of different games. And with the webcam, and just a note, just with the webcam, you can actually change the resolution that you want it to be on as well. And you can connect either via Wi-Fi or via your cable as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to disconnect this camera that you can actually see on screen now, and then bring my OBS back up because I can't see you guys and what you're writing in chat at the moment. There we go. Turn that off. So yeah, something like this does come in handy, and if you can't, and you can pick up even a second-hand, half decent tablet that's not that inexpensive. So let me just turn this off. There we go. Thank you. And one final thing that I will show you, just so you guys will know what you can actually see what I'm using to have my Toshiba on screen today. It's actually a website called Ninja. And the web, it's called obs.ninja. And what this allows you to do is to share your screen. You'll get a link. You'll actually see it up here at the moment. So that is the link that I would put in my browser source on OBS, which is what I've done on the Nitro here, to actually bring in my desktop screen from my Toshiba. You are able to add people, up to 4 people. There are quite a few videos on OBS Ninja. I think I've got a couple of them actually in my OBS playlist, which when this is uploaded onto YouTube will be in the description as well. But it is a public playlist, so you can, on the same name, Paranormal White Noise. So if you look under my playlist, you'll see OBS. And this is just a different alternative that you can actually use. Again, it is a browser source, so bear in mind if you are using a low-end laptop or low-end PC, it will take up your resources. But this is what I have been using this evening to actually share my desktop. So I think I've covered everything. So what I know about OBS and everything that I've picked up and little tips, little tricks, you guys now know. So what I know about OBS, you guys know about OBS now, as long as you've been able to follow me. But there are lots of hints out there if you want to look a little bit more into OBS. But one of the main things is just keep in mind on your processing speed that you're using, especially if it's on a low-end machine. Go over your settings. Don't have things set too high. Don't have a lot of things running in the background. Make sure your OBS is top priority. If you're gaming using OBS, make sure your settings aren't up too high. Again, if you're on a low-end machine. If you're having problems streaming with lag, drop frames, everything else, go through your stats, which you can find where your docs are. um, So with what I've mentioned this evening, if any of you are having any type of the lagging problems, drop frame problems, rendering problems, if you go through what I was telling you this evening, you should be able to sort those problems out. And then you should be able to stream a lot smoother on whatever platform that you're actually using. So, anybody got any questions? And don't turn around and say, can you start from the beginning again, please? So for those of you watching me live, this is on my channel for 3 days. As I am only at affiliate status, but I will be downloading this and uploading it to my YouTube channel. And I will also be putting a copy on BitChute. Quite possibly on Rumble and Odyssey and Library as well. Ha 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 ha, Mags. So I'm going to stop sharing my other laptop for the time being anyway. So yes, that is basically how to set up OBS, get yourself streaming, any problems that you might come across, what the problem could be and how to rectify it, and hopefully stream smoothly and in a nice quality. You have a question, Mags, do you? Okay. What's your question, my dear? When I add Spotify. Right. Okay. I haven't. Yes, I have got Spotify, but it takes a long time to load. Right. If you want to add Spotify, when you've got your Spotify open, whether it's always better to download the app onto your computer, laptop, whatever it is that you're using. Um, what you want to do is a window capture and then choose Spotify, and then it'll actually pull in the full window. And then what you do is you use the Alt key and your mouse with the red dots around the frame. And then what you do is you just crop it to size. That's all I do. I don't make anything big, and it's just the bottom where it shows you the small picture and the writing on Spotify at the bottom. That's just a little, so I actually crop that whole window down just to that little section in the bottom left hand corner, and that's all you do. And it's the same with anything that you want to add in. You can crop anything that you want. Wow, Zara, this is a lot for me. Thank you so much. I must rethink this. If I can do... Oh, you'll be able to, no. Yeah, we can talk on Discord tomorrow. Yep, not a problem. Not a problem. It's like it's been mentioned in the chat a couple of times. And I know some people, that way before I even decided to do this stream, and before when I did my other OBS stream, um, people have reached out and have asked me, for their help, if I could help them. And, if I have time, I don't mind helping anybody with any OBS problems. It's just that I'm not going to run around and ask when people are free. You have to come to me. Because there's things that even though I don't work, I still do things during the day. So I can't, if we can sort out a time and a date, or if somebody says, oh, I'll message you, and then they don't message you, I'm not going to go running after people. If you really want the help, I'm more than willing to help, but I'm not going to go running after people. Oh, thank you, Chicken Boy. That's lovely. Thank you. That's very kind of you. But all that I can say is enjoy streaming, enjoy your OBS, and as frustrating as it may seem, persevere, reach out and ask someone, watch videos, um, because once that things are running smoothly, as a lot of you know, streaming can be great fun. Okay, JJ, ask away. Um, okay, well, JoJo's typing that out. Crazy boy, I do have one question for you. Where do you get your neat animated backgrounds that you sometimes stream over? YouTube. Easy. YouTube. If there's something, there are lots of sites that that you can download backgrounds for. Just bear in mind, if you are on a low end, something low end, you could have problems running that video file. Um, But a lot of my backgrounds, some I've chopped up. They can be from maybe five, six different animations, especially my winter one. Um, and I've just edited it all back together. Um, to make, for example, what you saw on the Christmas stream. Jojo's question: when will we see you again? On Friday. Thank you for the ice cream, Meg. I'm taking the day off from streaming tomorrow. I don't want to be overdoing it because last time I did that, I fell ill and I couldn't stream for about 6 weeks properly. Um, so which is when it'll be maybe a six hour stream thereabout. Um, and I will be doing Detroit Become Human. But I won't be making the decisions. That'll be down to you guys in the chat. So it's down to you lot how the story develops. Um, Glenn, how do I turn a laptop on? Press the power button. Oh dear. Thank you for the ice creams. No, Jojo, Mag. Thank you. You're welcome, Chicken Boy. You're welcome. Well, if there are no more questions, I am going to close down the stream for today because it's about 3.5 hours. And as some of you can probably tell, my voice is slowly starting to go. I've got to go shopping tomorrow now, so should you say about 4, 3, 4? Tell me which one's better for you. Thank you for the lemon, Chicken Boy. Oops. Hello, Samet1. Thank you for the follow. Please do not come and ask for things like that. I do not like it when people come and ask things like that. Sorry. Hey, Scott. How you doing? OBS question. Shoot, Scott. Thank you for the ice creams, new. 4 o'clock? Okay, no problem, no. How can I change my stinger transitions to perform different ones? You can't, as far as I know, it's between one scene collection, it's just one stinger. As far as I know, Scott, you can't change different stingers between the scenes. I've not seen anyone that uses different stingers for different stuff. It's just been the one stinger. I could be wrong. You know, I'm no prophy when it comes to OBS. I'm just passing what I know. Maybe it's something that they'll do in the future. One way to do it, Scott, if there's different types of streams that you like to do, is to create a scene collection. And then say, for example, if you're doing your panel stream, then you can have one in particular stinger going between those scenes. And then if you're doing your gaming stream, you can have that as another collection with a different stinger playing. That's what I have. So what I have on this collection here, I call it my DLive General. I have like my general streams if I'm doing something on autumn, or if I'm doing just chat and general music, or like my Christmas. They're all in one scene collection. My more specific ones like War of the Worlds, Kevin and Perry, my musicals, my specific themed music ones, 80s, 90s, so on, even my gaming, they all have their own theme collection. So then I can do a stinger for those specific collections themselves. I hope that helps. Oh, my glasses look screw with. Better organized. Always pays to be better organized, Scott. Makes life easier. Um, yeah. Anybody else got any more questions? Before I slowly close down the stream. Thank you, hun. It's a very nice thing of you to say, Glenn. I'm only passing on what I've learned, and I know that um, some people like to learn new stuff. Other people are just starting out using something like OBS. Some people have had problems. Um, yeah, no problems, Max. No problems. Just write me. Even I've learned a few new things. Oh, thank you, Jojo. Well, if there isn't any more questions, then I'm going to close down the stream for this evening. If you do want to get hold of me, you can follow me on Twitter. I am on Facebook, Paranormal White Noise. YouTube is Paranormal White Noise. A lot of my links are in my about, and with what I actually stream on as well, and what I use. Um, you're welcome, no, not a problem. That's okay, Max. So it's going to be here for the next 3 days, but yeah, it will go up on YouTube as well. So with that being said, I'm going to love you and leave you all now. And go and have a coffee or a hot tea, hot lemon tea, But thank you all so much for coming. Thank you for all the hosts. Thank you for the new follows, the lemons, the ice creams, the diamonds. I really do appreciate it. If you need help, you're welcome, Max. Do reach out. I'll be more than willing to help anybody that genuinely wants to help. And with that being said, if you're around, I'll see you on Friday. If not, I see you around somewhere on DLive. So until then, take care, stay truthful, stay honest, and if you're having a bad day, tomorrow is a new chapter and a new page in the book. Thank you for that, Jojo. So take care, guys. Love you all. Mwah. Much love. Bye.